Have you ever felt stuck, unable to be yourself? Like being trapped in a place or role that doesn't let you grow? Imagine someone sitting inside, wishing to go outside, to breathe fresh air, and to feel free. This is the kind of struggle Adrienne Rich talks about in her poem, The Trees. But instead of people, she uses trees to show the fight for freedom and life. Hi everyone! Welcome to today's video. In this video, we'll look at Adrienne Rich poem, The Trees, and break it down into simple and easy to understand ideas. Let's get started. Before we get into the details of the poem, let's take a quick look at the poet and the poem itself. The poem The Trees is written by Adrienne Rich, a famous American poet. She is known for writing about social and political issues, especially feminism. In this poem, she uses nature as a powerful symbol of change and freedom. To truly understand the depth of the trees, it's important to know the context in which it was written. The Trees was written during a time when people were becoming more aware of environmental issues. Adrienne Rich uses the image of trees to highlight how nature can inspire personal and global change. Now that we have a sense of the context, let's talk about the style of the poem. This poem is written in free verse, which means it doesn't follow any specific rhyming pattern or rhythm. This style reflects the natural, unrestrained movement of trees, making the poem feel free and flowing just like nature itself. Now that we've talked about the poet, context, and style, let's dive into the meaning of the trees. The poem tells the story of trees breaking free from being trapped inside a house and returning to the wild. It's a symbol of freedom and change. The trees struggle, just like people do, to escape being trapped and find their true place in the world. The speaker watches this moment of change, while nature, the night, wind, and moon helps the trees gain their freedom. Let's break it down step by step to uncover the powerful imagery, emotions, and messages Adrienne Rich has woven into her words. Each stanza adds a unique layer to the story of the trees and their journey toward freedom. Let's explore them one by one. In the first stanza, the poet describes how the trees are moving out of the house and returning to an empty forest. The forest has been lifeless, no birds, no insects, not even shadows. By morning, the trees will fill it with life again. Let's break it down line by line. The trees inside are moving out into the forest. In this line, the poet describes the trees that were trapped inside are now leaving the house and going back to the forest. The forest that was empty all these nights. In this line, the poet describes the forest has been empty for many nights with nothing living in it, where no bird could sit, no insect hide. This line says that no animals or insects could live in the forest because it was so empty. No sun bury its feet in shadow. In this line, the poet describes the forest was so empty that even the sun couldn't cast a shadow. The forest that was empty all these nights will be full of trees by morning. This line says by morning, the trees will fill the forest, and it will come alive again. In stanza 2, the trees are struggling to free themselves from the house. Their roots are pulling away from the floor, and their leaves and branches are stretching hard to move. It's like they are trying to move after being stuck for a long time, just like people recovering and trying to walk again. Let's break it down line by line. All night the roots work to disengage themselves from the cracks in the veranda floor. In this line, the poet describes the roots are working all night to pull themselves out of the cracks in the floor. This shows how the trees are struggling to get free from where they are stuck. The leaves strain toward the glass, small twigs stiff with exertion. In this line, the poet says that the leaves are reaching toward the glass, trying to move outside, while the small branches are stiff because they've been trying hard to move. Long cramped boughs shuffling under the roof like newly discharged patients half-dazed, moving to the clinic doors. In this line, the branches have been stuck in the same place for a long time, and now they're slowly moving like people who just got out of the hospital and are weak and confused. They're trying to move, but it's hard for them. In the third stanza, the speaker is inside the house, writing letters, but they don't really notice or pay much attention to the trees and forest moving outside. Let's break it down line by line. I sit inside, doors open to the veranda. The line says that the speaker is sitting inside the house and the doors are open, allowing them to look out at the veranda, a small porch area. Writing long letters. The speaker is busy writing letters, possibly thinking or reflecting on something important, in which I scarcely mention the departure of the forest from the house. In the letters, the speaker hardly talks about the trees leaving the house or the forest returning. This shows that the speaker doesn't seem to focus much on the big change happening outside. In the fourth stanza, the night feels fresh and alive, and the smells and sounds from outside are making their way into the house. The speaker is thinking quietly, but their thoughts will soon disappear. Let's break it down line by line. The night is fresh, the whole moon shines in a sky still open. In this line, the night feels new and clear, with a full moon shining brightly in the wide, open sky. It's peaceful and calm. The smell of leaves and lichen still reaches like a voice into the rooms. Here, the scent of leaves and lichen fills the air and seems to come inside the house like a voice speaking. It creates a connection between the inside and outside worlds. My head is full of whispers which tomorrow will be silent. It's mean the speaker's mind is filled with soft, quiet thoughts, whispers. But these thoughts will fade away and be forgotten by tomorrow. In the final stanza, the trees escape, the wind welcomes them, and the moon breaks, making the moment feel powerful and magical. Let's break it down line by line. Listen. The glass is breaking. Here, you hear the sound of glass shattering, marking the moment when the trees are finally escaping from the house. The trees are stumbling forward into the night. In this line, the poet describes the trees as they struggle to move forward into the night. Even though they are stumbling and facing difficulty, they are finally breaking free from their confinement and heading out into the open world. Wind rushed to meet them. In this line, the poet describes the wind blows toward the trees as if greeting them and celebrating their freedom. The moon is broken like a mirror. Its pieces flash now in the crown of the tallest oak. In this line, the poet describes the moon break into pieces, and its light reflects off the top of the tallest oak tree, creating a magical and powerful moment. Now that we've explored the poem line by line, let's take a look at its key message. The message of the trees is about the strength of nature and its ability to renew itself. It symbolizes growth, freedom, and the deep connection between humans and the natural world. Let's take a closer look at the poetic devices Adrienne Rich uses to bring the trees to life. The poem uses several poetic devices to convey its meaning. Imagery, vivid descriptions like roots work and leaves strain help us visualize the tree's struggle. Personification, the trees are given human qualities like working and shuffling to show their emotional journey. Metaphor, the moon breaking like a mirror symbolize change and fragility. Repetition, lines like "the forest that was empty all these nights" emphasize the transformation of the forest. Alliteration, phrases like "small twigs stiff with exertion" add rhythm and highlight the effort of the trees. Symbolism, the trees represent freedom, the glass stands for barriers, and the moon signifies change. The Trees poem is a beautiful and thought-provoking poem that reminds us of the power of nature and the importance of freedom and growth. It's not just about trees, it's about all of us and our connection to the world around us. So, next time if you feel trapped, whether it's by rules, expectations, or your environment, think of the trees in this poem. Remember that, just like them, you have the power to break free and return to a place where you can truly grow and be yourself. Now that we've understood the poem, let's go over some important questions and multiple choice questions that will help you prepare for the exam. These will help reinforce your understanding and ensure you're ready to pass. You can copy the notes and make sure you're fully prepared for the exam.